At dawn, my ranch smelled of cedar and grit. I was knee-deep in straw, coaxing a newborn calf to its mother's side, when a black SUV roared up my drive, its driver armed with a clipboard and a vendetta. She didn't know it yet, but stepping onto my land was a mistake she'd regret. Welcome to Cedar Creek Ranch, where the air hums with freedom and the fences stand firm. The morning sun barely grazed the hills, painting the dust gold across my 200 acres. I was sweating through my flannel, guiding a jittery cow into her pen, when I glimpsed the subdivision beyond my northern fence. Willow Grove Estates, a sterile grid of taupe houses with manicured lawns, was creeping closer every year, like ivy choking a tree. Its residents craved the country vibe, but recoiled at the smell of manure or the sight of a horse. Leading their charge was Margaret Hensley, the HOA president, a woman who wielded her authority like a scepter. 2 years ago, she'd rolled up in her BMW, heels sinking into my gravel, and pitched me on donating 10 acres for a community dog park to boost property values. I told her my land wasn't for sale, nor was my patience. She didn't take kindly to that. Since then, it was a cold war of petty complaints. Margaret reported my livestock's odor to the county, griped about dust from my tractor, and even claimed my barn obstructed her view of the sunset. I ignored her emails after she accused my gelding, Titan, of menacing behavior for snorting at her from behind a fence. My deeds were airtight, my land zoned for agriculture long before Willow Grove existed. I kept my fences mended, my noise low, and my compost tidy. A sign at my gate read, "Private Ranch, not HOA. Trespassers may feed the cows." Kidding. Sort of. Still, Margaret's complaints kept coming, each one sharper than the last. Lately, I'd noticed strange cars idling by my fence, snapping photos. Her minions, no doubt, are hunting for a violation. I knew trouble was brewing, but I didn't expect it to erupt so spectacularly. It started with tires crunching gravel. I was in the barn, steadying a newborn calf, when an engine growled up my drive, followed by the slam of doors. Wiping sweat from my brow, I peered out. A glossy SUV with a Willow Grove HOA logo sat like a tank in my yard. 3 figures stood by it. Margaret, arms folded, sunglasses glinting like a hawk's eyes, flanked by 2 men in matching polos labeled Neighborhood Compliance Team. Laughable. I strode over, wiping my hands on a rag. "You're a long way from your cul-de-sac, Margaret," I said. "What's this about?" Her voice was clipped. "We've had complaints. Odors. Unsafe enclosures. Improper waste disposal. We're conducting a mandatory inspection per our community safety code." I laughed. "Community? This is my ranch, not your gated utopia. You've got no jurisdiction here." She smirked. "We believe your northern pasture may fall within our oversight zone." "Oversight zone?" I raised an eyebrow. "Is that next to Narnia?" Her lackeys didn't crack a smile. One was already snapping photos of my barn. The other edged toward my fence. "Hold it," I said, stepping forward. "Cross that line without a warrant, and you're trespassing." Margaret's smile tightened. "We're just observing." I turned to grab my phone, ready to call the sheriff, when I heard the clink of boots on wood. Both inspectors had climbed my corral fence into the pasture where 4 cows grazed, including Titan, a young bull, sharp as a whip and wary of strangers. The moment their feet hit the dirt, Titan's ears flicked up, his nostrils flared. He let out a bellow that shook the air and charged not to harm, but to claim his turf. Dust flew. One man yelped, tripping into the mud. The other scrambled up the fence, tearing his khakis. Margaret, shouting about lawsuits, backed into my manure pile and went down hard, emerging coated in 2 weeks' worth of composted hay. I filmed it all. "Need a shovel?" I asked, offering a pitchfork. "You'll pay for this," she spat, manure dripping from her blazer. "Oh, I bet," I said, grinning. They fled in their SUV, leaving a shoe and a mangled clipboard, which my goat, Mabel, promptly chewed. I petted Titan. "Good boy." I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. By noon the next day, a courier delivered a summons. Willow Grove was suing me for $300,000, citing unsafe conditions, obstructing inspections, and emotional distress from aggressive livestock. They demanded I limit my herd to 2 cows pending an HOA-approved review. It was absurd, but Margaret wasn't playing. I called Ellen Whitaker, my lawyer, a former state prosecutor who'd once reduced a land developer to tears in court. "She's overreached," Ellen said. "We'll hit back hard." "Got that video?" I sent it over, and she got to work. Ellen filed a countersuit for trespassing, defamation, and malicious prosecution. She leaked the video to local farm groups, and it went viral. Memes flooded Facebook. Margaret's fall set to dramatic music, her "You'll Pay" scream remixed into a country tune. The press ate it up. Headlines read, "HOA boss tangles with bull, loses." My inbox is filled with support from ranchers and HOA victims. Margaret doubled down, claiming on the radio that I'd trained Titan to attack. That only fueled the fire. Then Ellen uncovered something bigger. The HOA had submitted a revised boundary map, claiming my northern pasture was part of their community buffer. It looked official county seals, parcel numbers, but Ellen smelled a rat. She ran it through a verification tool. The map was a fake, cobbled together from old planning drafts with mismatched fonts. "They're forging evidence," Ellen said. "This is a new level of dumb." We requested authentic county maps, which showed no overlap. Ellen filed an emergency motion to block the HOA's filings pending a fraud investigation. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Clara Holt, warned of sanctions if the documents were falsified. Margaret held an HOA meeting, recorded by a fed-up resident. She ranted that boundaries are negotiable and called me a rogue cowboy. When asked if the map was legit, she hedged. Bad move. At the next hearing, Ellen presented the forged map, county records, and the meeting footage. Judge Holt's stare could have melted steel. "Counselor," she told the HOA's lawyer, Victor Grayson, "attest to this map's accuracy or withdraw it." Grayson stammered, then withdrew it, citing inconsistencies. The judge wasn't done. She set a full hearing and glared at Margaret. "We're not finished." Ellen dug deeper, uncovering that one inspector, Carl Dutton, had a 2018 conviction for posing as a city official in a scam. He joined the HOA as compliance director with no credentials. Leaked emails showed Margaret instructing him to handle my ranch discreetly. At the next hearing, Ellen exposed Dutton's record and the emails. Margaret snapped, interrupting to claim it was all a misunderstanding. Judge Holt silenced her. "Sit down, Ms. Hensley, or you're out." The judge ruled the HOA's actions reckless, referred the forged map to the DA, and set a contempt hearing for Margaret. Then Margaret went nuclear. She mailed a newsletter proposing to retroactively amend the HOA's charter to include my land, citing ecological unity. She'd even filed an expansion plan with the county, using my parcel numbers without consent. Ellen called it legal lunacy. The press pounced. HOA tries land grab. Residents revolted, flooding meetings with questions. The county launched a fraud probe. The HOA's secretary, Leonard Price, broke ranks, leaking drafts and recordings of Margaret saying, "We'll take his land." He's one guy. Ellen filed for an injunction, which Judge Holt granted. Margaret's empire crumbled. Residents demanded her resignation. Signs sprouted. "Hensley must go." The final hearing was a spectacle. Ranchers, locals, even kids on a field trip packed the courtroom. Ellen laid out everything. The forgery, Dutton's past, Margaret's emails, and Price's testimony. Margaret's voice echoed in a recording. "Control the story, and the land is ours." Judge Holt asked, "Is that you, Ms. Hensley?" Margaret mumbled about context. The judge ruled. The HOA's claims were fraudulent, my land was untouchable, and the HOA owed me $200,000 for legal fees and damages, plus a public apology. Margaret faced a contempt hearing. A week later, she unraveled, ranting about backward ranchers clinging to dirt. Judge Holt had her cuffed for contempt and charged with fraud. Margaret got 7 years. The HOA collapsed. Price, now interim president, halted all enforcement. The DA probed deeper, uncovering forged signatures. Another board member, a shady surveyor, pleaded guilty. I got my apology letter, signed by the board, filed with the county. Cedar Creek Ranch was free. I expanded that spring, opening a riding program for vets and kids. One day, a 7-year-old brushed Titan's mane while her dad, a Marine with haunted eyes, smiled. That was worth every fight. Some fences are worth defending not just for land, but for truth. What do you think? Have you faced injustice or bullying in your life? Should force like Titans charge ever meet force? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's debate what's right and what's worth fighting for.